This is Declan Spring. Welcome to the Mostly Real Estate Podcast. This podcast has made me a better realtor, and I hope it makes you a better realtor. And if you're not a realtor, that's fine. You'll probably find it interesting too. I think real estate's just one of those things that most adults have an interest in. The conversations I have with my colleagues here in the East Bay will definitely give you a peek under the hood, perhaps demystify what goes on behind the scenes, maybe even provide some education about market trends and challenges. I'm excited to let you know that I have a new podcast studio, my first podcast studio. After taking a hiatus of more than a year from podcasting, we now have a purpose-built studio at our office at 2089 Rose Street in Berkeley. So my goal is to drop a new episode every week. I'm going to have a feature in each episode, Property of the Week. That'll typically come toward the end of each interview. Otherwise, my guests and I will talk about their history, how they got into the business, the tech they use, strategies for success, their own observations, with respect to market trends and challenges. And today I'm speaking with Kerri Monday. Kerri's the founder of the Monday team. I really enjoyed chatting with Kerri. She's an entrepreneur through and through. Absolutely brilliant and delightful. Hope you enjoy the chat. Now I bring you Kerri Monday. Well, I'm here with Kerri Monday, the Monday team. And Kerri, this is really a very special day for me because I didn't do a lot of podcasting last year. And now I have this studio at our Keller Williams office at 2089 Rose Street here in Berkeley. And I finally have a podcast studio, and I'm really excited about that. And you're the first guest in the podcast studio.
That's amazing.
What do you think of it?
I think it's gorgeous. It's a great setup. And I love this office so much. This office just has really good energy.
This office has great energy. You know my favorite thing about this office? I call it a stealth office. Because there are no flyers in the window.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So we don't have people wandering and tapping on the glass or any of that stuff. It's like a stealth office.
I like it.
You don't know what it is when you're walking. What is that office?
Portfolio.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of nice. I kind of like that. But you're my first guest, and this is the home of the Let's Talk With, or what am I calling it now? The Mostly Real Estate Podcast with Declan Spring. I changed the name. And I'm just really excited that you're here. Because my goal with this podcast, I was in coaching with Buffini for many years, Brian Buffini. And his business partner is a guy named Joe Nago. And Joe Nago's classic line was, more is caught than taught. Right?
Yeah.
And I subscribe fully to that philosophy. I figure if a couple of people are having a conversation about something I might be interested in, if I just kind of listen in, I might learn more than I would if I read a book on the subject,
Absolutely.
So that's the idea here, is to have people like you, realtors show up here once a week, every Thursday afternoon, broker tour day in Berkeley, and we have a chit chat about the market and about lives and our professional lives, and see if there's anything interesting that could be caught by somebody who might learn something. Or see if I can learn something from you.
Well, I love it. And I am honored that you've chosen me to be the first in your new space and the unveiling of the next wave. Yeah. So hooray for that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. And I've known you for, I would say 10 years, like we've been in the same orbit together. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've ever really, it's always like a bump into you here or a bump into you there. But I don't think we've ever actually sat down together like this.
We have not, but not on purpose. It's just
the way it is, right?
We're both busy.
But there should be more of this, and I'm really, genuinely, I've got a small team. You have a big team, and you're real good at this. Like you're one of those people. I aspire to get to that next level where you are. So I'm hopeful that I'm going to learn a little bit. That whatever stumbles you've had along the way, I can avoid maybe if you share some stuff here.
Sure thing.
But let's talk a bit about Kerri Monday, and Like, where were you born and raised?
The origin story.
Yeah.
So I grew up in Southern California, city of Orange, which is in Orange County, not too far from Disneyland. Grew up.
So you grew up in Disneyland.
Yeah, I grew up at Disneyland, pretty much.
I'm sure you did.
We all had our season passes down there, and it was cheap babysitting. Drop the kids off at Disneyland. At least they're contained.
Yeah.
There's overseers.
Yeah.
How much trouble could they get into?
Yeah.
But yeah, I grew up one of 3 kids to a single mom who worked many jobs. And that's relevant because I saw at a very young age what it looks like to hustle to make things happen.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot from my mom.
Yeah.
My dad was still in the picture and around, but he was, speaking of Disneyland, that Disneyland dad. He was the one that showed up and was, all fun all the time.
Yeah.
But wasn't there for the important growing, learning, nurturing type things. He was just there to be awesome and pop in.
Yeah.
My dad was a salesman.
Oh, I see.
Stereotypical death of a salesman style salesman. Like every time he would pick us up for the weekends, it was like, what's the new pitch going to be? He would try it out on us. He sold vacuum cleaners and Amway and employee leasing, you name it. Water purification systems. He was that guy.
Wow. Did you have it makes me think this is probably, so you're a child in the 70s, you're coming into your teens in the 80s. Mm-hmm. Was he the kind of dad who had the Zig Ziglar on the cassette in the car? Because that's what I'm picturing.
Not quite.
Okay.
No. It was more like he was into music, so it was more music in the car. Okay. But it did rub off a little bit because he did subscribe to a lot of sales techniques and waves that went through the years, and so vicariously I picked up on a lot of those, and I would say I got an entrepreneurial mind through my dad. Yeah. But I got the drive and the hustle from my mom, who ended up putting herself through grad school for therapy. Really? And she was a marriage and family counselor, and I feel like that has served me well in so many ways in this profession because, everyone always jokes about how we're therapists. We are there for them in some of their most stressful times of life, and it all comes out, and you've got to just know how to buffer and redirect and be that person for them. So I feel like I was almost made for real estate.
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to me, of course, you don't really know till you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you had sales and therapy. I mean,
exactly.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And so your mom going into that kind of thing, she, my experience is people who become therapists, they really have a real keen longing to help folks out. They're good people to learn empathy from and all that kind of thing.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we got a lot of lessons in that. She not only was a licensed therapist, but she actually started a program for battered women back in the 80s when battered women were not. It wasn't. It was kind of one of those things that you don't talk about. Mm-hmm. And
Absolutely.
The police actually would not take it seriously. And the window of safety, her actual the program that she developed was called Safety Net. But the window of safety, once a woman leaves her abusive husband, spouse, boyfriend, whomever, that window is very short until they turn around and go back if they can't find a place to go. Wow. And there's really high occurrences of just some terrible things that happen within that window. So my mom's program was hiding these women while they were waiting for a place to come open in the shelters, so then they wouldn't become a statistic.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. No, and the 80s, it was very different. I mean, isn't it true that like American women up until some point in the late 70s needed a husband's signature for credit?
Until 1974.
Right. That's not long ago.
No.
You know what I mean? So
Truly.
we've come a long way. It doesn't feel like it sometimes. It certainly feels like it's going backwards right now, but we've come a distance.
We sure have.
I think we've come a distance.
I think the way that ties back into maybe real estate, since this is a real estate podcast.
Mostly real estate.
Mostly. That's right. is that, those types of situations weren't planned. They weren't scheduled. Those were, get up in the middle of the night, run, take care of the thing, do what's necessary to get to the goal, which in that case was safety. But I think, again, some of those learning lessons of do what it takes and is necessary in order to get to the end goal of helping people with one of the biggest purchases or sales.
Yes.
I mean, it's huge.
Security.
Yeah.
I think security is a word that comes up for a lot for me.
Truly.
For clients, for buyers, especially first-time buyers, it's that you're making it to this safe, hopefully, you're making it to this safer place in your life where you're now. It's an inflection point in your life because from here on in, you're building wealth and security.
Sure.
Right? And it's beautiful to get people into that inflection point in their lives, It's so worth it.
Yeah.
I got some folks in contract today. I'm just like, they're exactly that kind of couple.
Yeah.
I'm just so happy for them.
Yeah.
Because their lives are changed forever.
Absolutely. Security is big these days, and I think that it's taking on a whole new context as well.
Yeah.
And having a safe home base is going to mean even more and more through the upcoming years. So
yeah, beautiful. Would you go to high school down there as well? All that stuff?
I did. Yeah.
Did you work at Disneyland?
No. However, I did have goals when I was quite young to be Alice in Wonderland in the Disneyland parade. Didn't get to check that box off.
I could see that though. the pumpkin, the whole bit. Yeah. Oh, is that Cinderella?
No, that's Cinderella. But
okay.
Alice in Wonderland was the White Rabbit.
I could definitely see that for you. Definitely see that. So you went to high school. You graduated high school in Orange County.
Correct.
What was life like as a teenager in Orange County? I'm Irish, right? And I don't know Southern California at all.
Sure.
But I've always heard it's very, very different to Northern California, the Bay Area. They're quite distant culturally. Is that true?
I would fully agree with that. I was kind of on the side of Orange County that they weren't necessarily my folks.
Okay.
Yeah. So I spent a lot of time during my youth rebelling.
Okay.
I'm sure.
Kerri, you don't seem like the type.
I don't know. Yeah, it's so weird. No, so I would say that my childhood was colorful, and there's a lot of stories that are meant for other podcasts that I could tell you. But I feel like it was a great.
You I have to just jump in. You have like a goth vibe.
Yeah.
That you still have, to this day, despite being this, celebrated realtor, which you are for sure as well. But you managed to hold on to this vibe, that I think is pretty cool and hard to do, actually. Maybe it's easier to do in the Bay Area than Orange County. I don't know.
Thank goodness.
But
I don't know where else I'd go. Yeah.
So I can imagine if this is the toned down, version of Kerri now, but it still has that goth vibe. It must have been like amped up fully in your teens.
It was fun.
So again, I feel like I want to ask a question that might be telling.
Okay.
Like, how quickly did you want to get out of Orange County when you...
Immediately.
Okay.
Like within, I think it was 4 months after graduating.
Okay.
The U-Haul was packed. I secured a rental in downtown Berkeley, and 2 jobs, both waitressing jobs at the time.
Why Berkeley?
Well, I followed my two best friends. One of them went to Cal, and the other one went to San Francisco State.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
Berkeley was awesome. Still is.
Yeah,
We're here right now.
Yeah, no, it still is. It's great.
Yeah.
And where did you wait tables?
So those two jobs was Mel's Diner, which was on Shattuck.
Yeah.
But it's no longer there. But that was one of them. And then the other one was Lions Cafe, which was in Emeryville. I think it's a Black Bear Diner now.
Oh, yeah. I think
that one
it
was.
is. Yeah.
That one was super fun.
Yeah. and so have you mostly lived in the East Bay since then?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Berkeley, Oakland, back to Berkeley.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we have to try and piece together how you managed to stumble into real estate, because there's not unless their parents were realtors and they kind of came into a family team or business. The life story of how people get into real estate always to me is fascinating, because most people, it's a second version of their career. It's rarely the first thing, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I would not say my story is any different from that.
Uh-huh.
So waiting tables turned into working at a tattoo shop. I was a body piercer for 20 years on Telegraph Avenue.
Really?
Yeah, I stabbed a lot of people during my time there.
I can see that.
But during my time there, I had
I mean, I can't see you stabbing people, but I can see you being a tattoo artist. So you're an artist.
Well, no, so I was doing the body piercing.
Oh, body piercing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I mean, there's a little bit of artistry there.
There is
Just a little.
artistry in
Yeah.
that.
I,
For sure.
I collect tattoos
Yeah.
on my body.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I remember like the mid 90s. That's when I was waiting tables.
Yeah.
In San Francisco, and it was really that sort of breakout moment for tattoos. It was like early to mid 90s.
It wasn't just for bikers anymore?
Right.
Yeah.
People were getting tattoos, and like I don't have any tattoos because I don't know, but it seems like nowadays,
Yeah.
number of people who don't have a tattoo, younger people, is definitely those
Rare.
people are in the minority, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're on the forefront of that.
Absolutely. We were the only shop in Berkeley at that time.
Wow.
And the only other shop was in San Francisco, the Gauntlet in San Francisco. That's like totally aging me now.
Oh.
But
There's wisdom in it.
also what was different of that era is there weren't very many female body piercers.
I bet.
At all.
Yeah.
That was a man's world.
Wow.
So yeah, it was also good times.
And you did it for 20 years?
20 years. So there's crossover there, because if
Yeah.
you start to try and do math, it doesn't really work out.
Okay, so help
Yeah.
me out with that then. Give me the timeline.
So from the age of 19
Yeah.
to 39,
Yeah.
body piercing.
Wow.
And then in 2005, so how old was I then? 29.
Uh-huh.
From the age of 29 to now
Yes. Okay. Fair enough.
older than 29. Yeah, then that puts me in the real estate world for that long. So there
Okay.
was definitely crossover there.
Okay. So you're like a 014 or something?
017.
You're 017. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't you find yourself, like I find myself always.
I'm so judgy. I'm like,
think that's hilarious.
like I'll have more empathy for someone with the higher numbers, than I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, they're learning, all
Yeah.
right. And then the lower numbers, then I'm like, they should know better.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
When I see a 013, I genuinely feel like it's family.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh my gosh.
yeah. Still around, are you? All
made it.
right. Yeah, I know you made it. You made it.
But how did you stumble into it? Did you,
Yeah. So at the time, at the tattoo shop, I was 24, and my boss, who's super smart,
Yeah.
was like, "Hey, Kerri, when are you going to buy a house? And I'm like, what? Wow. What are you talking about? He's like, you're making so much money.
Yeah.
You need to make an investment now.
What a great boss.
Yeah. And I was like, me? I can do that? And he's like, yeah, you totally can. So I made a little mini goal for myself. I'm like, okay, by the age of 25, I want to be a homeowner because my boss told me I could be. Before that, I had, I was just trying to figure out what I was going to do that weekend.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I get it. I'm really impressed by this boss.
Yeah.
And that you took because sometimes that's.
Well, the story gets better.
You could buy a house. I mean, I've had conversations. Yeah. That's just great. You just have a conversation with somebody like, actually, you might be able to buy a house.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Like, what a game changer.
He said, you're paying rent. You're paying someone else's mortgage. You should buy your own.
Wow.
So I started saving up. And then on the day before my 25th birthday, I got the keys to my first house. And it was that house was rough.
Okay.
Yeah. It was what is now lovingly considered Temescal.
Yes.
Back in 1999,
yes.
when this happened,
yes.
when this purchase happened, I mean, this little craftsman house had seen some better days. It had been used as a squat.
Right.
There were, I now know what the smell of crack cocaine smells like.
Right.
It was definitely in need of some love, and I saw a possibility, and the same boss came to take a look at it. I didn't realize that I actually needed a home inspection. Probably should have. My agent at the time that I found on the back of the Bay Area Guardian.
Yes.
Yeah, like the little ads.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have the internet back then. That's how you found your realtor. You were like, ooh, who has the best ad? I'm just going to go with them.
Absolutely. No, I mean, that was the thing. Remember the pink pages?
Oh, totally.
Oh my God, it was like the biggest deal ever. Got the pink pages. Yeah.
So I bought that house.
But no home inspection. That's hilarious.
No.
But you ever see home inspections from back then?
Oh yeah.
They're like 2 or 3 pages.
They're like, looks good enough.
Yeah. It's so funny how far
it's still standing.
Yeah, it was like nothing, like written typewriter.
Yeah, totally. A little cursive at the end.
That's right.
So took over that house.
Good for you.
Rented out every single corner of that house that I possibly could. House hacking before it was trendy.
Well, here's the thing. I was talking to somebody else about this recently. People have always been doing the same stuff every decade. it's a different name.
Totally.
It's like a different name.
Now it has a cute name.
Now it has and in 10 years it'll have another name.
Oh, totally.
But people do the same stuff every decade, right? But so house hacking. So you were house hacking.
Yeah, I turned my garage into another bedroom, rented that out. One of the closets was a little bit oversized, barely squeezed a little single bed in there and rented that out. So cool. I had my entire mortgage covered while I was renovating this place. So,
do you remember what your mortgage was?
Yeah, it was $1,200.
Yeah.
And I rented each bedroom out for different prices. Like the for real bedroom that I rented out was $500. The garage I rented out for $400, and the closet I rented out for $300.
Yeah.
Does that add up? Yeah. There you go.
Wow, so cool, so good.
Yeah.
And life was easier in the 90s. It was less intense.
Yeah. It was before 9/11. It felt a little more.
It was just a little easier. Like it just didn't feel like it was so expensive to live here.
Yeah.
I've been having these conversations recently because my daughter's turning 21 this month.
Yeah.
And I find myself just having those old man conversations with her where I'm like, when I was like late 90s or even mid 90s, I was waiting tables I was waiting tables in North Beach then, I think, or maybe Fisherman's Wharf. But I lived in, Washington Square Park in San Francisco, North Beach.
Yeah. Looking
out at St. Peter and Paul's.
How did you afford that?
I had a ground level 3-bedroom, 2-bath condo that I shared with another waiter friend of mine. We didn't rent out the 3rd bedroom because it was $900 a month.
Oh my gosh.
So it was $450, which I made in about 3 shifts. And and then you're playing frisbee in Washington Square Park and going to Tosca for drinks, and life was doable. It was like it was a dream.
Yeah.
It's gotten harder to just have that kind of great quality of life here. That's out of reach now. Mm-hmm. It's gotten really damn expensive, man. But anyway, back to your wonderful Temescal house, packed with people.
All my friends.
Yeah, having a good time.
Then that same boss came into play, and he's like, "So, Kerri, when are you going to buy your first investment property?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? I'm just finishing my bathroom remodel. What? Wow. How can I buy another property?" And he's like, "Oh, you've got equity now."
What? Is he still around?
Yeah,
he's great.
He's awesome.
I wonder how many people he put this information into.
I think the better question is how many people actually listen.
Yeah, that's probably the better question. But you listened. So now you've got experience as a homeowner.
Yeah.
And, in the midst of, you being, 25, 26 years old and the chaos of having a crammed house and, but you learned, and then did you get the investment property?
I did.
Wow.
Yeah. Over by Lake Merritt.
Wow.
Yeah,
amazing.
A duplex.
Good.
I still have it. And some of the people that work at the tattoo shop still live there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I know. And that's what he said. He's like, see all these people that work here? They need places to live.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you're right.
That is so cool, though.
Yeah.
So you got the duplex. So now you're like, now you're like real estate. Okay. Now you're understanding.
Now I'm a real estate owner.
Yes.
In
more sophisticated.
several levels.
Right.
And everyone was like, how in the heck are you? Like, very extremely judgy. How in the heck did you do it? And then I would sit there and try and explain what, from my point of view, extremely layman version. And they're like, oh, if only my realtor had explained it that way, I totally get it. Yeah. And if you ever get licensed, let me know. And I was like, I'm never getting licensed. And then after like the 50th, 100th time that people were like, you should get your license. I'm like, maybe I should get my license.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The other person who I'm going to chat with at some point on the podcast who's like, it's similar.
Teaser moment.
What?
I said teaser moment.
Yeah,
Who's
teaser
coming?
moment. But Ellie Ridge, Ellie Ridge?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, she's
my hero.
Right? But same kind of thing, like getting sophisticated and knowledgeable about real estate at an early age. And then going, you know what? I'm going to help people do this because people are asking me, how did you do this?
Totally.
And
she was born into it. Man, she's awesome. Yeah. I wish I want to grow up to be like Ellie Ridge.
Yes.
Even though she's like half my age.
I know, but you were doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You had taken the advice, and then people are noticing. They're turning around. How the hell did you do this? And so it sounds like we're headed to a place where you're like, maybe I should get my license. People keep asking me how I did this.
Side hustle style. Like, this is just going to be my side hustle. So I can help my friends and family that don't want to talk to the normie real estate agents.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So there's like some resistance to being a salesy realtor.
I mean, there was no HGTV back then,
right.
Or maybe it was just a very unsophisticated version of it.
Right.
But I had zero intention of having to conform just to sell a house.
You were not getting crunchy bangs for a business card.
Not even.
Right.
No.
Yeah, no,
wasn't happening.
Good. Yeah. But you get into it. So were you doing body piercing?
Mm-hmm.
Right. There's the overlap.
Yeah.
You're doing the real estate and the body piercing
for 10 years.
And then, what happened? You look around. You're like, it just makes more sense to 10 years. It's hard to do part-time It probably wasn't part-time real estate. That's why you had to drop one.
So that story goes to, I started having to leverage because I was at the tattoo shop between certain hours. There were people that were demanding of my attention. Yeah. And so that's when I hired my first showing assistant. And I said, this is not a mentorship.
Right.
I'm not trying to teach you everything. You're just going to go open some doors for me because I'm stuck at this shop right now.
Right.
And that kind of snowballed into me starting a team. Again, really? Didn't set out to be like, I want a team of 10 amazing agents. No, I was
had
like,
no idea you had a team that early on. I mean, because
baby team.
Well, that's all right.
When teams weren't really in
they weren't
vogue.
teams. Yeah, they weren't a thing. People would open a brokerage.
Oh, people were interviewing me about showing assistance because that was a new thing at that time. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll tell you all about it.
Interesting. And you had your flip phone.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
Yeah.
We weren't as accessible all the time to the degree we are now.
Yeah. But people didn't demand immediate information either.
It wasn't so fast.
They were a lot more patient.
Yeah, it wasn't so fast.
I was around when DocuSign came into play.
Yeah. Yeah.
That really made some realtors mad.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, change always does, though.
Yeah, you know what? Realtors as a breed are very resistant.
Yeah.
You know, they're comfy with the way things are supposed to be.
Yes.
And whenever disruptors come into play, they get real mad.
Yeah, you get because there's a lot to manage in this job.
Yeah.
And you get used to the operating system of whatever time your entry into real estate is.
Yeah.
And for several years, just as you're finding your feet. And then they come along and disrupt everything with. I mean, yeah, you kind of get annoyed. The younger agents, because I got going in 2007, I went pro. Mm-hmm. Great year to go pro. At the end,
You timed that
the
perfectly.
end of 2007.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, the colleagues older than me were having the most brutal time of their lives.
Yeah.
I mean, losing the shirts off their back.
The water cooler was a sad place in those days.
It was just, it was unforgiving, wasn't it? But, you know, I was doing fine. I had no idea.
Of course.
Like half the stuff was bank owned. I didn't know anybody. But that, you know. So
That's what I'm telling agents that are starting right now, though.
Yeah. It's a good time.
This is a great time.
Yeah.
Because they're not developing bad habits. They are learning the new normal because they don't know anything different.
Yes.
And they're developing habits that are going to serve them so well in their career.
I agree with you 100%. Coming into a difficult market is a great entry point, actually.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. You know, you can't time it, but so you had like you had your team. Were you like the Monday team? I mean, no. It was just you had agreements or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just Kerri.
What was the brokerage you were with?
So I actually started with Keller Williams.
Oh, no way.
In Berkeley. It was down the street on Gilman.
Yeah.
I started there. And then during the crash that we just so lovingly discussed, our brokerage got purchased by Better Homes and Gardens, which is actually like 4 doors down from us.
Right, it's on Rose Street over here. Yeah.
So I stuck with my people.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, and so we all moved over there, and it was great until another shift in ownership came, and I was about 4 or 5 more years into my career, and I said, you know what, I actually have some options now. And then I went shopping. I went brokerage shopping, and in doing so, I found out that Keller Williams Oakland was about to relaunch, and I was like, wow, they had a terrible reputation. That doesn't sound like a good time, but I'll talk to someone anyways, just to see. Yeah. And that's when I met Tina Jones, and they didn't even have a brick and mortar at that time. They were working out of a community workspace, the downtown Oakland.
Really?
Yeah, the port workspaces.
Interesting.
And I had been drinking the Keller Williams punch ever since I left. Even though I was still with Better Homes and Gardens, I would still go to like family reunions.
Oh, really?
I was still keeping in touch with all my Keller Williams,
family
referral partners across the country, and so I kind of put it out to the universe when I made the decision to come back to Keller Williams. It had come down to I was either going to open my own boutique, tiny franchise with Next Home, that was my biggest choice at the time. That or the the opportunity that Keller Williams was giving me to come help them open the Oakland office.
Yeah.
And I threw some tarot cards, as we do, because we're in Berkeley, and that's how it goes. You got to get super woo with it.
You're not the first.
We're having a bunch of people turn off the podcast at this point because they are like, these people, I've been smoking the good stuff.
Well,
whatever it takes. So I ended up back home at Keller Williams, and here we are today. Yeah. So not too much brokerage jumping around.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm a loyal person.
Yeah.
I'm a loyal person. I mean, 20 years at a tattoo shop.
Yeah.
That was family.
Yeah.
I really look
you've demonstrated your loyalty to the East Bay in general, and to your folks who still rent property from you.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, yeah, it makes sense. And what a disruption to move anyway. I mean, it's such a disruption. Because I moved here last year. That's why I didn't podcast last year.
Yeah.
Because I was at Red
You were
Oak,
still trying to get it all situated.
Yeah, it's a lot of work with all the tech and rubbish nowadays.
Yeah.
It's like it takes forever. So here we are. We're back to doing this. And so, not too much moving around. Not too much moving around for you. So I want to talk about, the Monday team. So you're kind of a solo agent, but you always had showing agents?
Yeah. I had showing agents and part-time assistants, but never like anything super formal, like a lot of paying people under the table, because all the rest of that stuff felt really intimidating. But once I got pregnant 11 years ago, my OBGYN is, because at the time I was working at the tattoo shop. We had a vintage clothing store, my husband and I, and then I was doing real estate. So there's lots of things happening. And my OBGYN is like, you work way too much.
Wow.
You need to cut something out of your life to grow a baby. Yeah. And I highly recommend you get rid of the possible hepatitis exposures at the tattoo shop. And so I went in, and a week later I was telling them, bye for now, I'll be back.
Yeah, of course.
And within 2 months, my business doubled.
Wow.
So the takeaway on that is, in real estate, when you're focused.
Yes.
That's when the business comes. So all of that to say, because you were surprised, you were saying, oh, okay, so you were part-time real estate. It's really hard. I mean, statistically, you don't make it when you're part-time real estate.
Yeah.
I beat those odds, but then I learned a very valuable lesson that it probably could have been way better had I made a choice, one direction or the other. Yeah. But I wasn't giving up on my tattoo family.
That's fair enough, too. Yeah. It's fair enough,
I've always tried to be kind of the fringe, the folks who feel intimidated, in front of someone else who might be judging them, whether it's their sexuality or their dress or their background or their demographics. And so I have always been the minority in the realtor world. So I haven't really noticed much as far as like competition or just like a sea of other agents because I was always kind of in my corner. Okay. And what I have noticed though is over time, a lot more agents like me. Okay. So that's awesome because it was very lonely for a while. I was that agent that nobody would ever forget. They're like, "Oh, you're the one with those tattoos on the back of your legs," and that one. That makes sense. Oh, you're the one with the hair, right? On the phone. Yes. So now I'm becoming more of a sea of alternative agents who are making a name for themselves in this industry, which is kind of awesome. I mean, going back to that Ellie Ridge, she's got a lot of tattoos.
Yeah, absolutely. I see exactly what you're saying. Yeah. There's definitely more there's more of a community of people. I mean, people from all stripes and walks of life, right?
But less judgment. Like
Yeah.
before I used to, and I still have the habit of covering up.
Yeah.
So my clients don't get judged by
Right.
my appearance.
Right.
But I don't think it's necessary anymore. It used to be.
Right. I don't think it is either. What is so? I love that you talked about your business doubling when you focused in on that single profession.
Yeah.
I think that's a terrifically useful piece of advice for anyone. Of course, it can be a tough business to get into because sometimes you need a side hustle to get in
To pay the bills.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you want to get in. You want to get in to working 100% real estate as quickly as you can, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't. If I had it to do all over again and like a little crystal ball situation, I should have
Yeah.
given something up at some point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all right. It's all right. Well, somebody else gets to benefit from your wisdom now.
Sure.
Yeah. So, did you have a mentor? Like, let's talk about advice.
Well, I can give advice based off of what I wish I had done, which was build a database from the very beginning. I was very off the cuff and wasn't keeping track at all for probably the first 5 to 7 years. That's when I started keeping track of like, oh yeah, that's my past client. Oh, that's
Okay.
their phone number. So I think that I probably could have built something even bigger had I been extremely intentional about building a database in the beginning. But you have to remember that the drive was never to have it become what it's become. It was a side hustle for me.
I get it.
Yeah, I think the mindset.
These were moments of revelation as you went along that you
I wish
discovered.
I had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but this is huge, actually. This is actually massive. Is tracking and data collection wasn't such a big thing even. That's fairly new. Everyone knows how valuable data is now. I mean, it's just become, actually, it's gotten extraordinary.
It's a commodity
It's a
now.
commodity. It wasn't, but what did you just realize that you should be building it, or did you go to like a seminar? Because I went to Buffini and learned about database.
Yeah.
Oh, CRM. Like, what do those? Where did you?
No, I just finally listened.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, it had been in Keller Williams. The training has always been on the higher end for brand new agents, and it was always taught that you should. But I didn't
Right.
think I needed to because I wasn't really trying to build a slam dunk business. I was just trying to learn the business so I could help my friends and family.
Okay.
And myself, of course.
So when was the first time where you really kind of had a good look at yourself in the mirror and was like, and the words lead generation sort of became like just they were glaring out at you?
That was when I decided to go full time.
Okay.
Before that, my lead generation was just being friendly and networking and talking to as many people as possible, which was very easy because I had an influx of many humans like me coming in to allow me to adorn them in several different ways. And I, real estate would come up occasionally, especially for a lot of the regulars. And so that was my lead generation, was networking and just inserting real estate appropriately.
Right. That idea of like, if I have to have, you take your pick, anywhere from 6 to 20 real estate conversations a day, and that's my lead gen.
Correct.
And I'll just hope that from there, that metric, whatever I choose,
Right.
will come back at me. And
it has, and it still serves me to this day, honestly. All of that networking that I did back then, we just closed on a property our team did for a purchase of a client who used to come in as a teenager with their mom to get tattooed at the shop.
Uh-huh.
And they, we've stayed in touch through social media. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And when it came time that, she and her partner came into some money, they knew that I was their person because I've seen them grow up, essentially.
Right.
So again, that it goes back. Lead generation takes a lot of different forms.
It does. It does. Like now, anyone coming in to real estate now, they have different options than we had. I remember given a pie chart, and there was like a little slice was like farming, and a slice was cold calls, and a slice was door knocking. Now you have slices, right?
Yeah.
Social, and you have to pick one.
Well, hopefully you pick 3.
Okay. Talk to me about it.
Because one could end tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah.
You have to have 3 legs to your stool.
Okay.
At least. 4 better. 3 it'll still stand. Like you're not tipping off the stool.
Okay.
And if something disappears tomorrow.
Okay. So in your case, when did you know you had like a 3-legged stool?
That was when I had decided to go full time. So that's when I buckled down. I really put my database together and became intentional about touching the database extremely regularly.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, we were still coming out of the crash.
Yeah.
And so there was still a good amount of short sales and foreclosures. And back during that time, short sales was my bread and butter. It was... Yeah. I was willing to do what other agents did not want to have anything to do with.
Right.
And so that lead generation was actually dripping on other agents and saying, hey, we'll take it off your hands.
Yes.
Don't tell your clients no, just let it go to foreclosure. That's not an option.
Yes.
Pass them over to us. We'll help them find solutions.
Yes.
And so that was actually a pre-Monday team called Bay Area Short Sale Angels that I put together with.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember you as that.
Yeah.
That's when I first, because I remember all.
We were doing hundreds of them a year.
Wow, it's amazing. Really?
We got very systematic with it.
Wow. Yeah, there was a real flow to working the short sale game. Yeah.
Yeah.
And people, you're right. It's a lot of work.
Oh, it's a lot of work. And
like, what was the average length of an escrow back, 2008?
My
9?
goodness. I would say that on average, it would probably be somewhere around 7 to 8 months.
Right.
Shortest 3 months, longest 2 years and 4 months.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
And if it wasn't a short sale, it was a bank. Did you represent banks?
No, but I represented a lot of investors.
Yeah.
Because that was where the business was. Like,
Yeah.
who will be buying at this time? Investors. And so I got into a bunch of circles of investors, going back to that DocuSign disruptor thing.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a really good story. One of my favorite investor clients came from a floor call.
Okay.
We used to call them pizza money back then because these were like $40,000, $50,000 listings in West Oakland that like nobody was touching.
Right.
And so a floor call came in because one of the other teams that did a lot of foreclosures and represented the banks on them had it in their roster. And so this guy called in and he's like, hey, I want to make an offer on whatever house. And so then the person at the front desk was like, hey, who wants to take this $40,000, write up a purchase agreement? Right. I was like, sure, I'll do it. So I got on the phone and he's like, yeah, so I'll meet you at the Starbucks at wherever. And I said, no. We've got this thing. It's called DocuSign. And he's like, no, I'm not techie. I mean, like he had an AOL email account. Right. I'm not techie. I'm not going to get it. I'll just meet you at the Starbucks. And I said, humor me. I just had a 70-year-old woman figure it out last night. I knew that would get him. Yeah. Like, I can't have this 70-year-old woman outdo me. I'm not techie. But I said, just humor me and try it.
Right.
So he tried it and it worked. And he said, Kerri, I'm never working with anyone else, because he was a stay-at-home dad investor.
Yeah.
He has an autistic son.
Yeah.
He would have to drag his autistic son every time out, and that was like, a sequence of events in order to get his kid in the car and keep him happy and go to the Starbucks and get him his favorite treats and, all the things. He said, you just saved me like 3 hours of my life.
Yeah.
Not just the signing part, the lead up to it. And he's like, I'm not working with anyone else.
Yeah,
he still calls me his partner to this day.
Oh.
And this was, 15 years ago.
That
and
is so great.
that $40,000 transaction turned into probably, I would say, somewhere to the tune of like 17 to 20 million to this day, based off of him and his business partner's transactions alone.
Yeah.
And so the takeaway on that one is you never know where it's going to come from. Right. And also offering solutions to make your own life easy actually might be making other people's lives easier. And in doing so, you're building relationships.
You're right. But you have just underscored or described one of the greatest and most difficult challenges in real estate is the thrill of never quite knowing what will be the big thing that happens. It kind of leaves you always just a little bit, you just never know. Like, we have to go down every road. We have to sniff out, every little corner of, whatever, because you just never know. That's the thrill of the work.
Yeah.
This discovery of what will this lead to?
Totally.
But it's also the challenge, because you got to sleep at night.
Well, and you got to try not to get murdered.
Yeah. Seriously though, talk to me about that though.
Well, as a woman in this industry, going out and meeting strangers at empty properties, especially during the crash, half of them were squatters, people passed out in them. You never knew what you were going to step into.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that now. I have some story. But for women, obviously,
I'm not a big girl like that. I could get taken down pretty easily.
It's hard to describe what it was like for a few years and what we had to deal with. You remember before the banks had figured out that they needed to at least clean property?
Yeah.
You would walk into sometimes just the saddest.
Feces.
Oh yeah, and just sad. I was always so.
And like toys left and stuff, and you're like, oh.
Oh, it was so awful.
So first of all, someone lived here, and second of all, like, what was, this is not okay. They lost their home.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I did a lot of stuff around East Richmond, North Richmond.
Yeah.
And like neighborhoods now that are transacting at, let's say, 700,000.
Sure.
For a house, back then every block in those neighborhoods, each block would have probably 25% of the houses were boarded. Mm-hmm. And when you walked in, there was the toys and the graffiti on the walls. Remember the light fixtures would be gone? Every cop. Do you
heartbreaking, like dead animals. Sometimes they left their pet inside the boarded up. It's messed up.
It was really a messed up time. And do you remember like having to check property to make sure the copper plumbing hadn't been stolen from
Of course.
the house?
Well, you got to check it the day before it closes because it could disappear in 24 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I once had a client who somebody broke into the house, went through the crawl space, caught a hole in the floor.
Yeah.
But the only thing that was missing was a can of soda from the fridge.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
There was nothing else taken.
Pirates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So things started so you had your short sale team.
Yeah.
And then my recollection is 2012, things started to recover.
Yeah.
Like I was doing open house and all of a sudden people were showing up again.
I know.
Like, there's a line. I'd show up at 2:00.
Yeah.
I'd be like, maybe I should show up at 1:45 because there were lines beginning to form.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, it felt like we were just like taking off again. And short sales dissipated, foreclosures kind of went away.
Yeah.
And it was back to some kind of normal real estate up and to the right.
Is real estate ever normal?
No.
Declan.
No.
Yeah. It's just the next gen.
Yeah, no, you're chasing a shadow. If you're chasing normal, you're chasing a shadow.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
You just have to say the rules of the game have changed.
The next
now
turn
what are
of
we
the
doing?
wheel. Well, let's figure out what's going to be the next thing here. We've been through a lot the last few years.
Yeah.
But we'll see where we are. Yeah, no, there's no normal in real estate.
No.
There's always something changing.
No, I mean, you get used to it and you start getting comfy. That's when you need to start figuring out what the next thing's about to happen.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a balancing act. Just when you have the tray steady in your hand, somebody puts another cup on the edge.
You're like, what?
Oh my God, don't do that. But so the Monday team was not a team yet. I mean, you had the Angels.
Uh-huh.
The short sale. What were you called again?
Bay Area Short Sale Angels.
Bay Area Short Sale Angels. And when did the Monday team form?
Around 12, 13.
Okay.
Is when we started going, when the name change happened.
Okay.
And when we started getting serious about being a real estate team.
Huh.
And right now it's an all-women team, but it wasn't always that way. We actually have had a couple whipping boys in our crew, and they didn't leave for that reason. Of course, that they were very, very loved. But we prefer to have this all-women crew and kind of celebrate building incredible businesses, that don't have ceilings. That's one of the awesome things about real estate is, it really is equal.
Yeah, it's very fair. It is very fair. And I like that too. How many people are on your team right now?
We've got 9, but we're about to bring on 10th.
So that's not 9 agents though? They're not,
yeah.
Oh, and then do you have people behind the scenes?
Yeah, we have 4 VAs in the Philippines who we love dearly. They are like family to us. We know everything about their kids and their animals, and we celebrate with them. Wow. And we cry with them when sad things happen too. Yeah. So we have 4 ladies in the Philippines, and then 1 boots on the ground admin, director of ops here in Oakland. Yeah.
Let me ask you a few very pointed questions about business right now.
Sure.
How do you start your day, just first of all?
Yeah. So our team has a power up. We have a power up where we start with our gratitude for the day and our commitment for the day.
Okay. So is this an online, like a Zoom thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we do a Zoom and we do that, and then we go over all of our client list and pending transactions and coming soons and all of that.
5 days a week you do this?
Well, we used to do it 5 days a week. Now it's gone down to 3 days a week, but it's just because we kind of get it. Yeah. No, but we still throw our gratitudes and our commitments in our Slack channel because we want to hold each other accountable to that. Okay. And I think having gratitude in this industry is not only important, but it's kind of a lifeline because sometimes this industry can get really hard, and some days it's really hard to find one thing, one thing. It might be dry shampoo this morning, and tomorrow it could be that amazing deal you put together for, some clients that you love dearly. Yeah. So it's...
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
Necessary.
It is. You got to have your head on right. And gratitude's a great way to get there. Yeah. I agree with you, because by the end of the day, sometimes it feels like you've run the gauntlet. Yeah. And there's not a lot of gratitude coming back at you sometimes.
You're like, hey, working at the coffee shop sounds like a good idea. But then you wake up the next day and you find that gratitude again, and you find the love.
And if you're aligned with the right people. So is 9 a good number for the team at this point, or...
I feel like it. So you had been asking me about building a team because you're on that journey yourself. And I think that one of the differences with our team that helps with longevity is I don't just hire people and say, hey, welcome, here's your new sister. Yeah. Instead, I find people who I think are going to be a good fit. Yeah. And then they get vetted by our director of ops, who always gets to behind the scenes hear and see it all. And so if she still thinks that it's a good fit, then the rest of the team gets to interview them as well.
Oh, I see.
And I take their feedback
Right.
very seriously because one wrong hire can be cancer to the entire organization.
No, it sounds like a co-op.
Sometimes I wish it was financially.
Yeah.
Because my ladies, they do really well.
Yeah.
And I get to rejoice in all of that. And we need to make sure that we can all kind of kumbaya together on the daily, or else it's not worth it.
Right.
Yeah.
When you were assembling your team, like who was the most important? I often ask people this because, who's the most important next person when you're beginning a team? Like for some people, because you mentioned director of operations. For some people, it's a listing assistant. For other people, it's just a buyer's agent. But finding the right people early on in the formation of a team, it's not always the same for every team.
It's not linear at all.
Right.
And the reality is that you usually aren't finding the next best fit for your team at the time that you need them. So you need to always be thinking, would that be a good person to put on deck? And then stay in relationship with them, stay talking with them about the team in case someday that position comes open. Would you ever consider, a career with the Monday team? And sometimes that journey is a 3-month journey, and sometimes that journey is a 5-year journey. You never really know. But if you're always looking, then you're never hiring or bringing someone on out of pain.
Okay.
Which is really hard. And I have brought on people out of pain, and it was, you learn very quickly the results of that.
Right, to be avoided.
Yeah.
As much as possible.
Yep.
Yeah. So when people are joining a team, and they're coming to you, what are they looking for?
They're looking for partnership, mentorship. They're looking for someone who at 10 o'clock at night can tell them that it's going to be okay. When things feel, it's real estate. Sometimes things feel really heated and scary, especially in the earlier times of your career. For those who are more vetted, they want leverage, but they don't know how to teach or hire, or they don't want the responsibility of that. And so plugging into a team that is already established and we have all our systems in place, and it makes it so much easier. It takes a lot of the thought process out of it, so then they can just go do what they do best, which is talking to people and loving on people and making their goals and dreams come true. So.
Yes, but you have a systemized approach now, your team. So somebody coming in needs to be on board with the systems that you're using. What systems do you have in place nowadays? So
our biggest heart of our business is using a tool called Brivity.
I haven't heard of it.
We could talk all day about Brivity.
I thought I'd heard of them all. Is this a CRM?
Brivity is a CRM. It also does lead generation. It's so many things. So many things. And it has all our auto plans in there. It has all our documents, and it's everything.
Why haven't I heard of this?
I don't know, but it was built by a realtor named Ben Kenny, who is one of the co-owners of Place, which Place is it's a real estate partnership that the top 1% teams across the nation have partnered together in one place to share resources, to combine things such as Brivity or hiring practices, training, and stock options and healthcare that we can offer our team members. So it really is
This is all under Brivity?
This is all under Place, which Brivity is our main CRM. But the layman non-place partners can get brevity as well.
How do you spell it?
It's like brevity, but with an I.
Okay, brevity. Okay. How fascinating.
Yeah.
What are the top three things about not play? What did you call it? Place?
Yeah.
Okay, so putting that to one side for a second. Brevity. What are the three things that make it okay? This is why this is perfect for me.
We set and forget a bunch of auto plans. So when leads come in and we can't respond to them immediately, or we do respond but they don't respond back, it continues that journey. And sometimes 3 years later, they'll wake up and they'll be like, you're the only person that kept in touch with me. And it's not just a drip of properties. It's these auto plans of communication and inviting them to all of our events. And it's easy, press one button and make it happen.
Really?
And there's AI built into it. So if leads come in and you're like, okay, I've tried all I can with this person.
Right.
Then we put Gabby on her. She's got the gift of gab.
Okay.
She has no feelings. So she doesn't care when they tell her to go pound it. And she just continues to, ask the questions. So, if you were to move in the next 5 years.
This is all text or email based?
Text, email.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, brevity.
Yeah.
What else does it do?
Print materials, social media. It puts together with a click of a button. Since we upload all of our listings into Brevity, then we just click one button and then a social media video ad for our open house can be made in 2 seconds.
If somebody's not really using and leveraging, really using a CRM and they're earlier in their career, how big of a mistake is that?
I think they're going to be left in the dust.
Right.
Unfortunately, technology is what is driving our industry at this point.
Right. What other tech stuff is part of the Monday team right now in daily operations?
We use Slack every day, all day.
Huh.
Not just for, property channels on Slack, but we also have a gratitude channel. We have am I allowed to cuss on this podcast?
Yes, please.
We have a fucking hooray channel where, whenever someone gets into contract, fucking hooray, and then we all get in there with our silly gifs of people dancing and everything.
So describe Slack for people who don't know what Slack is.
Slack is like text messaging that's organized.
Okay.
Text messaging.
It's a closed group?
It is.
Yeah.
You invite whoever you want
Yeah.
into that group, and then you make channels
Yeah.
for anything that you want. So we have property-specific channels. We have client-specific channels.
Right.
We have a training channel. We have, as mentioned before, a gratitude channel where it doesn't have to be real estate related. We'll go in and say, I just had the best glass of water in my life.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful. Anything.
Wow.
And then, we celebrate each other's birthdays, wins, losses. Holy crap, did you see what just happened on the Grammys? That's in the random channel.
Okay.
Ideas channel. If we see something out and about and we're like, ooh, that's really cool.
Right.
Take a picture of that, share it with the team. So that is our main communication source within the team besides Zoom.
Yeah.
And then we get together once or twice a month.
Okay. And so if somebody's coming onto the team, they have to get involved in all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And the training that you mentioned, you have a training channel. Mm-hmm. How do you what are newer members to the team looking for as far as training, or what do you offer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when they first join the team, they go through a launch with that other organization that I was talking about, Place.
Okay.
And then once they graduate launch, then in order to be assigned team business, they have to reach different metrics and be bringing business on their own.
Uh-huh.
But the training channel is literally there for like, I don't know the answer to this, but I think that it's a good question that everyone might be able to learn from, and maybe someone has the answer. Maybe someone has seen this before. So an example of something that went into the training channel was something about the update to the FHA 203K loans that happened in January. That would be a training subject, and then we all just kind of like, have a conversation in Slack about it, and then it's searchable. So then you could go back and search it later if you're like, okay, what about...
You probably have an insurance channel at this point. I mean, they added a contingency.
It's full of tears and sadness.
Yeah. No, I love this. What you're describing is really good. When you've had somebody join, but they're not a fit for the team, like, have you ever said, yeah, I should have known? Like there was, and what were the warning signs? And, again, just when you kind of know it's not going to be a fit. What's the wrong personality?
I think willingness. Someone who's not willing to learn or do the activities that are necessary. And so anytime someone doesn't work out, it's my fault because I didn't ask them the right questions going in.
I understand. That's fair.
I tweak my mindset to like, okay, so now we're going to learn how to ask the right questions so that doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
And the good news is that a lot of times the questions that I forget to ask, my team is asking.
Right.
Or that person is a little more relaxed around my team, not realizing that they're being vetted. They think they're just meeting.
Right.
And so as far as answering your question of what makes them not a great team member is if they're just in it for themselves and not in it to be part of the community.
Right. They're looking for what's in it for me rather than, as somebody said recently, it shouldn't be an ego. It should be a we-go.
Right. It's true, though.
Me-go or we-go.
Yeah, we always say we're better together.
Yeah. No, it sounds like it. It really does. I mean, and it makes common sense as well. Yeah. Oh, I hate that common sense has been co-opted by Trump as his term now. I can't even say common sense.
Don't say it.
Damn it.
Ruined.
So ruined. Certain things have been hijacked.
I know.
So 9 is 9. How long have you been at like 9-ish?
We have teetered between 7 and 10 for the last couple of years.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's comfy. You're like at cruising altitude, it sounds like.
I feel good about it. I feel like there's enough to go around.
Huh. You said that you have AI. There's AI now in Brevity.
Correct.
But are you then separately using like a ChatGPT or a Claude or?
Sure. Everyone is.
I think most people are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty damn impressive. Yeah. Do you have any concerns about that kind of tech?
Well, you know how we were talking about how life was slow?
Yeah.
In the before times.
Yeah.
And then now it feels just so much faster now that we've got like everything at our fingertips. AI, I feel like it's going to make life, that's my biggest concern is that it already feels too fast and that's going to make it feel even faster. That's my concern.
I listen to this show called Hard Fork every Friday morning. Great podcast. A local guy named Kevin Roos and somebody from the city. It's a New York Times podcast. But they were just noticing that in terms of unemployment rates, jobs layoffs, that in tech, layoffs in tech are happening at a higher rate than in the rest of, in other types of employment. Except maybe the federal government in the last few weeks.
But is that historically on track, though? Because what I've noticed just being in this area is that tech gets, they get a new round of funding and then they hire a bunch of people and then are like, whoops, maybe we're not going to do that project after all. Everyone's laid off. I feel like tech just as a being has higher layoffs in general in comparison to the rest of the world just over time. I would like to compare tech to tech rather than tech to the rest of
I
the
get
world.
it. To other industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. The idea is that you know, learn to code, which, you know, people would say 10 years ago. You know, it's like we've gotten to a point, put it this way, where, you know, where if you're coming out of high school into university, we're at a point where you really actually, you do have to think about what disruption might occur in some industry that you're interested in getting involved with.
Sure.
Like, because you might go through the
Years
whole,
and years and years, and then you're obsolete when you
this is
get
what-
there.
Right, like coding is, there's less need for entry-level coders now. That's coding is coding itself. And so I just, I'm not overly concerned about it, but things are happening very quickly.
Yeah.
Like general intelligence, they're saying we're within a year of artificial general intelligence, and already these large language models, they're now in reasoning mode. They're not just spitting out.
Oh, yeah.
Right, and that reasoning is the first step to AGI. You know, so it's. I worry a little bit.
I think you need to sit down with my husband because he worries a lot a bit. And I'm like, I can't be here for it. I got some houses to sell.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, I feel I feel like we're happen to be in a profession where people just want the human touch. They want to hold a hand and they want to walk a property, and it's, you know, it's a physical. We're not selling something virtual.
Yeah.
It's a brick and mortar. And
You got to be able to smell it.
Yeah. So I'm not terribly concerned about generally the day-to-day of, you know, good real estate.
It will evolve, though.
Yeah.
It will evolve. Some of our stuff will go away.
Yeah.
Maybe for the better. Maybe it's stuff we shouldn't be messing with anyways. I don't know. I don't have an example of that off the tip of my tongue, but maybe then we do lean more into the humanity of it all.
Yeah, I think we have to. But you know, people who can really leverage AI very smartly, even at this early time for lead gen and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
They have a leg up. There'll be, you know, they'll separate out, you know. But it's you know, people who are that good tend to be in the minority. You know, but who wants to be average? I don't.
Not me. That's actually been our tagline for a really long time. Not your average agents.
Not your average agent. Right, exactly. Because I think, how many number of realtors in the country didn't have a transaction last year? It's
74 or something like that.
Horrendous, isn't it? It's horrendous.
I know.
And the average, the average 21 grand a year salary, you know, it's what you, I mean, that's wild. Of course, that's very distant from the Bay Area, obviously.
Truly.
You know, it's a whole different thing. Let's talk about what you're seeing out there. I want to talk about the market right now because it is always different. I don't know about you, but November, December market, ancient history.
Yeah.
Right? Compared to right now, March 2026.
Totally.
You know, the old problem of, hey, you're looking at comps from November, December. That's not going to map well onto March 2026.
No, especially coming out of an election year. I would say that we are in a tale of many different markets. The condo market, completely dead.
Yeah.
We're doing so many short sales right now in the condo market.
Are you really?
Yeah, they lost over a decade of equity.
Yeah.
With the 1-2 punch of the. Started with COVID, people not wanting common space, etc. They wanted to like go have a backyard because nature is medicine.
Yes.
So started with COVID, then interest rates went higher, so that doesn't pencil out well for a condo. And then now HOA fees are going through the roof because of insurance and balcony situations.
That's right.
And so all of that combined has created a scenario where they're just not, it's not a viable investment. It's not that stepping stone towards home ownership that they used to be, or the move down. Some of them, I would say it's more of a move down than the step towards.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of people need to give up needing to be responsible for exteriors and, landscaping and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the condo market, totally dead.
It is totally dead. I wasn't aware, though, until you said it just now, that there's a real short sale market in the condo. Yeah. I'm not paying that much attention to.
You're smart not to. It's terribly depressing.
Well, it's just not where my client base is taking me.
Yeah.
If they were, then I'd know. I guess your client base,
We've
with
got
the
some.
big team like you've got, and having, at one point in your career being such a short sale expert,
right?
And that you're just more oriented towards being sensitive to that.
And we're getting short sale referrals again.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I put an offer on a condo today, and I couldn't help but notice that I wrote an offer at exactly $2,000 below what it sold for in 2007.
Yes.
And then when I have folks buying condos, I'm like, tell me you'll stay there for at least 10 years, because this is not, and the older buildings, especially like Adams Point, they terrify me.
Yeah.
So what do you see? Because everything recovers. I mean, it has to.
Eventually.
And don't know the future. I'm not asking you.
Right.
But what are your thoughts about where the condo market might? Do you think it's going to go down more before it comes up? Honestly, I know we don't have a crystal ball. If we did, we'd be very wealthy.
I don't know. I had a lot of speculation in 2020 that the condo market was the place to buy that spec property or that spec condo, because it's like COVID's going to be over and then people are going to want to live together again, so buy the condo now. It's going to be fine. It's going to be great.
And then the insurance hit came.
And the interest rates.
And the rates.
So I think that we're just going to have to wait for rates to come back down and in the insurance situation that we're in to correct itself in some sort of way, which I'm not even sure. Did you hear what General Powell was talking about?
No, tell me.
Oh gosh. He was just talking about how states such as California with insurance problems might not be financeable in the near future. That was Powell that said that. That wasn't someone reading into what he said. That was him actually saying that financing could become a problem, and we already know that it is,
right,
because of insurability.
Right.
At the moment, we have California Fair Plan.
Right.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
But how long till that runs out?
Yeah. So the insurance is really the big thing right now.
I think so. And everywhere across the board, not just condos. I mean, we're talking about condos, but that's the kiss of death for the condos.
Yeah.
So we've got the condo market, and then we've got our entry-level homes, which are, I feel like the entry-level home price points are okay, but not great right now. Again,
really,
if I had to point a finger in a direction, it would be interest rates. It just doesn't make sense, the discrepancy between rent versus own, and having to downgrade your neighborhood sometimes in order to have a similar financial quality of life when it comes to that. But then when we get to our move up homes, which a lot of people have been talking about, how a lot of people aren't moving up because they're handcuffed by their sub 3% interest rates.
Right.
But I'm still seeing that a lot of those people are in a financial place that the interest rate doesn't matter as much. It's all a tax write-off anyways. They're seeing the long game as far as, do I want to live in a construction zone to add an extra bedroom and bath, or for 2 years because it takes 1 year just to get your plans approved? Do I want to do that, or do I just want what I want right now? And in our society of instant gratification, those folks can afford to have what they want. And so I'm seeing that, up until we get to around 1.7, 1.8, starting at around 900 to that, I think that's our most healthy market at the moment.
I agree.
And then once you get into luxury, as far as the 2.5 and above, then it just takes time and the right person, and that has always had longer days on market.
Right.
Even
That's true.
in our most healthy of
Yeah.
markets.
Yes.
They still take time. So
Yeah.
I think that we've got a lot of different narratives happening at the moment.
Yeah, we do. We're finding our way like we always are,
Yeah.
going from one change to another. But I agree with you that 900 to 1.8 or thereabouts.
Yeah.
It's
It
things
still
are,
feels
things are moving along.
normal-ish, back to that normal word, which whatever
well,
that
healthy,
means.
there's multiple offers and
Yeah,
yada.
choices. There's choices.
There are some choices.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the rate. I think it's after a few years of this now. It's starting to become. There seems to be less of a conversation around rates. It's. Do you know what I mean? Like, not that buy downs are not still perfectly viable and useful, but it's not the daily conversation. You remember like a few years ago when we went from 3 to 8 in about a month?
Yeah.
Buy downs were
Painfully.
like, everybody was like, what's a buy down?
Yeah.
How do we do this? How do we educate? The constant pressure of educating about buy downs doesn't seem to be there for me. It's more normalized. It's 6.5.
Kind of
7.
is what it is.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about like marry the house, date the rate anymore, which was probably not the best
Yeah.
metaphor. But yeah.
Yeah. So you're seeing that as well too?
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
And with our new political regime, I would say that people are not trying to predict the future anymore.
Right.
Right. If it had gone the other direction, it was easier
Right.
to kind of see where things were going. Now it's just like, oh, okay, it could be something completely off the wall in a week from now. So
Right.
let's just do what feels right for the moment, and as long as it makes sense for
Right.
them
Yeah.
and their financial picture,
Yeah.
the rate kind of takes a back seat
Yeah.
to that. And if things change in a positive way with rates, then they can make decisions at that point.
Listen, I want to move on to. Well, hold on. I have just a couple of other little things. Do you do social media? Are you big on that, or is it like, no, it's okay, I let other people do that?
Yeah. So yes, to a degree,
Right.
and not in the way that I would love to have the time for. And this year we as a team are focused on changing that by holding each other accountable to more.
Okay.
So last year I had a Monday Market in a Minute.
Okay.
And I was doing that pretty consistently. And then so that was like at least once a week there was a video. And then of course, like, all our coming soons and just solds and, fun things that we find on the internet and reshare, that kind of stuff. But that teetered out because here's the vulnerable moment. Because my dad died.
Oh.
And
Kerri, I'm sorry.
in all honesty, I was doing those videos for him.
Oh, that's so
Because
nice.
he and I couldn't have a normal conversation that didn't include politics or religion, and I wasn't down for it, so we weren't really talking. But I would make those videos, and he would put in, oh, that's great information, or, thumbs up it, or he would message me, DM me on the back end and be like, hey, I really enjoyed your video today. Oh. And so he died almost a year ago. Wow. And so it's been really hard for me. Like, it wasn't my only focus, but that was like a lot of push to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to make that, like, oh, he's going to be proud of me.
That is just beautiful though. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
So it took the wind out of your sails.
A little bit.
Yeah, of course it should. It was natural. It has to.
Yeah.
And that's very, very, very sweet, though, that was your focus with your social. Had that.
Nobody knew.
Oh, so sweet, though. So now you got to find a new reason.
Well, I mean, the reason is because we should, and it's fun to perform.
It can be.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's for everybody, and I know that one of the downsides of this job is that constant that constant voice in your head that's telling you that you're not doing enough. You're just not doing enough.
Totally.
My favorite picture to conjure up for people is the real estate agent who's in line at Safeway or whatever.
Sure.
Has a hand on their card in case anyone mentions real estate, and at the same time they're listening out for a real estate conversation, have their hand on the card, and they're scrolling through Facebook and feeling like anxious about that they haven't done enough social today. And it's just this, I kind of don't do social now unless I do it, but I don't time block for social.
Yeah.
So do you time block for social?
No, but I need to. I time block for everything else.
But do you want to?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
I guess that's what I'm getting to is do you want to? Because I don't, and I'm perfectly fine with that.
I do, but here's what I want.
What?
I want a cameraman, and I want hair and makeup, and I want a script and a teleprompter, and I want Marvelous Miss Maisel to write them all.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's really quite the endeavor to have a consistent social media. But I mean, it's a full-time job just to make social media your thing. Okay, listen, we're going to do a new thing on my podcast that I'm going to do with people every week. A property of the week. Remember, I told you, it can't be your listing and it can't be anyone on your team. What's your property of the week?
All right, I got one for you, Declan.
Okay.
It's a project.
Okay, tell me all about it and why you love it.
It's a project. It's got 3 levels. I'm not going to tell you the address yet. It's got 3 levels.
Okay.
It has not been touched in a really, really long time. We are listed, and by we, I mean not my listing. This is not mine. It's in Berkeley.
Okay.
Berkeley Hills.
Yeah.
It's at the top of the hill. Like you drive all the way up there and you think there's nowhere else to go. You keep going and it's up there.
Wow.
Like airplane style.
Wow.
It's listed at $799, but it's in a $3 million neighborhood. This home has views for days.
Okay.
Every single level, every single bedroom.
Oh, wow.
Has a view. The living room has a view. And it's completely outdated. I mean, clearly someone has lived in there forever.
Yeah.
And it's only a little bit haunted.
What kind of style house is it?
It has some mid-century modern-ish vibes. Not quite there, not sexy Eichler.
Okay.
But it's definitely like that boxy wall of windows
Okay.
situation.
Okay.
And compartmentalized, in the way that mid-century modern was. So not open concept. However, there's a lot of opportunity to create that in order to open up the views to the kitchen, which currently is just like towards the front of the house. But here's why I love it so much. I mean, I love a project.
Okay.
I've flipped properties before. I am currently living in what my husband calls the Barbie's dream house. It was the worst house on the block that we have turned into a glorious monstrosity.
Beautiful.
But I love an opportunity. But for this one, I teased it earlier when I was talking about those FHA 203K updates.
Yes.
So you said your daughter's 21, right?
Yeah. She will be this month.
Your daughter needs to buy this house. And here is why. She needs to buy it with the FHA 203K loan, which allows you to finance the entire project up to, I think, up to $1.5 million worth of work, which my guess is the work necessary there, including some pretty tricky engineering, because I think the foundation has seen some stuff.
Right.
But my guess is it would probably be somewhere around $1 million worth of work there, knowing what I know.
Yeah.
And she wouldn't have to make a payment for a year.
Right.
Now, if there's someone that you might know at the Berkeley Building Department that can get those plans moved through quickly, she could go in there, live in there for 2 years, sell that place, and have $1 million bank account
Right.
by the age that she's 25. And that's just seeing opportunity, jumping on it.
That is a beautiful opportunity for somebody of the right age.
If she doesn't mind living in a slight construction zone, she can find a corner of the house after that foundation has been, and live there for free.
Yeah.
No mortgage payments. You have to pay the taxes and the insurance, but no mortgage payments.
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels like a fantastic opportunity. Now, who has, that kind of money to throw around when you're 21? That was not me.
Well, with the renovation loan, though.
But with the renovation loan, you only need 3.5% on this 795 or maybe the after repair value. I'm not sure. That's for our listeners to check into. But those are the types of properties that excite me. And also the possibility of a good haunting is always fun.
So where's the property and who's listing it?
Okay, so the actual address is...
You'll hear people running up to the hills.
I know. 1328 Summit. Oh, there they all go. I see them. Yeah. They're all running.
1328 Summit. Who's listing?
And the listing agent on this one is Micah Larkins.
Oh, no way. Cool.
Yeah.
And so...
And it butts up against Tilden Park, too. Yeah. So you walk out your front door and you go hiking, and then you go into your house and you see the world.
Right.
Yeah.
It would be an ambitious project for somebody, but yeah, the payoff could be sweet.
And it's become easier.
Yeah.
As of January to make that happen with very little out of pocket, because 3.5% down on the FHA.
Well, beautiful. Property of the week. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm gonna cut you loose. It's getting late. It's 5:00. What have I not asked you that something you're passionate about, you want to talk about? Yeah. Anything at all? It doesn't have to be real estate.
Sure.
Just a thing that you want to draw attention to because, God damn it, you care about it.
So I have loved out of the box style real estate ever since I started. I always question why rules are the rules that they are. That's, I think, why I loved short sales so much, because the rules were not hard and fast. It was definitely wild, wild west. And that, I don't know, it's punk rock. But one of the things that I discovered almost 10 years ago was online bidding. And that is something that our team offers our sellers that is total differentiator from anyone else and not for everyone. However, it's a good solution when, when things aren't working, or when condos aren't selling, or when you need to create the market and you don't have a budget to do $50,000 renovation. So it's an answer to a lot of problems, and it's bringing technology to run alongside the agent, not taking over the agent, because that is just getting to a purchase price amount and bringing the audience to the table. And at that point, we take over and we do the same job that we do. We write the contracts, we negotiate, we go through escrow, and loans are totally fine. It's regular properties being offered through online bidding, which brings transparency, which I'm a super fan of.
I haven't had clients put a bid on a property of yours in a while. Mm-hmm. Because I do remember this now. Kerri's she does the online bidding thing, which was borrowed out from the recession era when a lot of you saw that model then, and then you were one of the few people who brought it out of the REO space or short sale space and into conventional, more conventional real estate sales.
Correct.
That's amazing, and you love it because for some people they run up against it. It's the first time they're going to run up against it.
Yeah.
Is with a Monday listing or a Monday team listing.
Yep.
Do you get pushback from other agents though?
Always.
I bet you do.
Always, but then their clients go to the open house because they think they're about to get a deal.
Yeah.
And then they go back to their agents and they say, "Hey, we want to make a bid, help us." Yeah. And then their agents reluctantly are like, "Okay, now I got to figure this out."
It's that learning part. It's where agents are like, oh, so this is like a new thing. You're throwing me a new thing that I have to learn. I have to do some homework now.
It's not that hard, though. It's easier than writing an offer.
Right.
And you don't write that offer until you know your client's the winner.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. And their client's not going to lose by $1,000 because someone did some fancy footwork behind the scenes.
Yes, that's true. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So you can be aware at all times of what the best
Where you're at.
That's amazing.
However, there's still negotiation.
Yeah.
So terms are a big deal.
Yeah.
When they do bring that offer, if the seller doesn't like the terms that are associated with it, or even the price, they still have the right to accept, reject, or counter. But at least we have that conversation going and possibly 4 more.
Yeah.
But of course, the first right of refusal always goes to that highest bidder because they pushed the button. They played the game.
Fair enough.
Sometimes, human nature, gambling takes over. And sometimes that person has now brought the price up to a point that they're like, oh, shit.
Yeah, sure.
I got a little carried away.
Yeah.
But at least we have 2 or 3 other people that were in the game, too.
Yeah.
So it transparently brings it to that place where everyone knows where everyone's at as far as price goes.
Interesting. Who's behind the tech for this, for the online?
Yeah. So we used to use a third party.
Yeah.
And we used to train other agents how to use the third party software. But we broke away from them.
Uh-huh.
And that was our pandemic project. So now we have our own own software.
That is truly impressive and makes you very unique.
Yeah. So I'm part owner of a tech company.
That is really impressive. You just can't help yourself but have projects and things that you're building. You're like a builder. You really are.
I see opportunity. There was in the list of questions that you provided that we might possibly go over during our podcast. You had asked about lucky. And
the role of luck in life.
Yeah.
I like asking people about luck. Some people look at me sideways, like, "What are you talking about?" I just happen to think we should be grateful for opportunities that just happen to come along that you cannot take credit for.
Well, I think that we create our own luck, honestly. I am a believer that if you put yourself out there, if you get out of bed and leave the house, you have a higher chance of luck happening to you than if you stayed in bed and wish you were lucky.
See, here's where here's my take on it. It's a little more philosophical.
Sure.
Is to be a person who understands that you might be able to create your own luck is a lucky thing in and of itself. You are right. It's lucky to be a person who thinks that luck is something that, right?
I'm not sure if I always believed it, but I surrounded myself with other people who believed it for me.
Yes.
And I listened.
And I think you're a good listener. It's been your ability to listen and take action has literally defined your adult life and where you've gotten. We talked about that. So you're a very smart listener, which is very impressive. And then surrounding yourself with the right people is something I'm getting a lot here, in this conversation.
For sure.
It's very important to you to make sure you're aligned with other team members who, for whom gratitude, et cetera. These are important things. I don't want to keep you any longer. Is there any last thing that you're going to be,
No, I think that's all for now.
Okay.
We can always talk again.
We will. I'll be doing this every Thursday, and I'll try and release it tomorrow. That's my goal.
Wow. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, just going to not do so much editing. I'm just going to get it done. So, Kerri, how can people find you?
MondayTeamAgents.com is the website. You should check it out. It definitely doesn't look like your average realtor's website by design. Yeah, so Instagram and our website and just...
I'll put those in the show notes. Anybody wants to just dig into the show notes a little, they'll find your contact info there. And Kerri, I will let you get back on with your evening and get to your family or whatever you do at this time of the evening. And I just thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Declan.
Yeah, it's been fun.
It was really awesome.
Yes. I really appreciate it. This episode was edited by me, Declan Spring, with original music by Chuck Lindo and graphics by Lisa Mazer. The podcast is brought to you by the Home Factor team of realtors, thehomefactor.com. Catch up on the latest news from the East Bay market in their weekly blog published every Saturday at thehomefactor.com. If you want to reach out to me, ideas for the show, that kind of thing, send me a text. It's the easiest way. 415-446-8591. That's 415-446-8591.